Today we have the SP-1200 in the center of my desk, and right next to the SP-1200 I have a record player with a stack full of records. I want to just have a good time, chop up some records, and just go through how fun it is to chop records using the SP-1200. You will see that I have my MPC Live next to me. I have it kind of pushed to the side. I'm not really going to be using the MPC Live other than sampling some drums off of it, but I mainly want to focus on the SP-12 with my record player and just go back and forth with these two, because you will see it's a lot of fun. But if you have any of the newer MPCs, it will save us so much time. But in this video, we want to just use these two. Also, be sure to check out the timestamps at the bottom if you want to jump to a specific section of the video. Using the SP-1200 is very different, a very different approach than using the MPC Live. And any of the newer MPCs, even on my MPC 2000 XL, is just a whole different approach. But one thing I noticed when I started with this sampler is that it's very, very simple. It's straight to the point, and it does not have a lot of options, which is why I think is a very simple sampler. As a matter of fact, I'll even go as far as saying is the easiest sampler I've ever used. I have the MPC, I have a SP-404, which actually the SP-404 is probably the hardest sampler that I've used in the SP-1200. It does not have a lot of options with different functionalities, but the few things that it does it with perfection. It does it very, very good. Now, another thing to keep in mind is this is a mono sampler. So maybe in a different video, I'll go over comparing the SP-1200 versus the MPC Live, but I will be using both of them in mono to compare the signal. So there's no stereo when I'm sampling from my record player or any source. It's going to be in mono. So it's just an extra step to think about when I'm listening to records, especially vinyl from the 70s. There's sometimes panned left and panned right. So depending on which side you want to sample, that's going to be the cable that I'll be using in the back of the SP-1200. And now, lastly, I did get a comment and somebody was mentioning, don't you need a mixer to use the SP-1200? It would be nice to have a mixer, but you don't need a mixer. This comes with a mixer. Your mixer is right here. You can start mixing with the faders. It does have a total of 8 outputs with your main mix, which is just sums everything up on your mixer right here, and you could use that as its own output, but you do not need a mixer. The way I'm using the SP-1200 right now in this setup is I have 5 outputs from the sampler going into my Apollo interface, individual 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So since it's all mono, let's say my drums, I'm coming out of outputs 1, and my samples, I'm coming out of output 2. So when I'm sampling into my DAW, I already have everything stemmed out individually, which is funny because I've noticed that with this 1200, I've been finishing more beats, like more music. I've been mixing them, mastering them, exporting. There's more productivity for me with this machine. Why? Because I'm already sampling the individual outs and I already have it laid out in my DAW. So when I turn off the SP-1200, I'm already ready to start mixing if that's where I want to go to. Versus on my MPC Live, I just have so many beats in there stored that I have not even stamped out yet. So I feel like I'm moving a lot faster with the 1200 versus my newer MPC because it's just right there already ready to go. So those are a few things that I've noticed after some time that I've spent with the SP-1200. The learning curve of this has been the easiest, just very fast, to the point. You want to chop up records, chop up some records. You want to put some drums, and just get right to it. There's not a lot of options like you would have on the MPC Live 2. There's a lot going on in these newer MPCs, which is why sometimes they could be a bit complicated. Now, before we start chopping up some records, another thing to keep in mind is that this has a sample limit on each, I guess we'll call them pads or buttons. You'll be able to sample a total of 2.5 seconds on each pad. So that gets very complicated because if you hear a sample, you can't just start sampling the way we would on the MPC and then chop it up later. You have to just sample 2.5 seconds or less, and really think before you hit record if that's the section you want to sample. It's a bit daunting at first. I was a little scared, like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get around the challenges of that, but it just makes me rethink or think differently on what I'm going to sample, and am I sure if that's what I want to use? Now, I'm gonna just focus on sampling some melodic samples from this record behind me. The reason why is because I want to show how different the approach is from what you'll see me doing on the MPC Live. But with the SP-1200 and using vinyl, there is no way I can repeat a beat, or if I could remember what I chopped up or how I chopped it up, it's impossible because I'm just dropping the needle and I'm looking for different clips, maybe a second, maybe 0.5 seconds, and I'm using that and filling up my pads. It's fun. It's just very fun. To me, this is therapy for me. I could spend hours just chopping up records. I enjoy that process. You'll hear me saying this so many times that when it comes down to chopping up records, it is my favorite process of creating music. I enjoy that. So with this machine, if you're similar to the way I am when it comes down to chopping records, you will have so much fun with an SP-1200. Enough talking. I just kind of wanted to run through a few things of this machine that you might want to know. Now that we got that stuff out the way, let's get right into it. Have some fun. I'm going to be using a drum break from my MPC Live, but the rest after that drum break, we're going to be chopping up the records piece by piece into each individual pad. Now, before I jump into it, if you are interested in picking up any audio related equipment, be sure to go down to the link of my video and use some of my links to Zounds. I always recommend Zounds because that's where I do my shopping. They are the best source when it comes down to shopping for any audio related equipment. There's some pieces of gear that I want to just get in payments. They will ship it out to me today if I purchase it, and I just make payments with them. They do not check your background. They do not check your credit or your social security number. They go ahead and ship out. If you want to pick up an MPC or cables or speakers, purchase today, get your shipment going, and you start making payments with them. All right, one thing you'll notice with the SP-1200, the reason why I said it's so easy, is a simple machine, very easy to learn, because everything you see in this layout right here is the options you get. There is no hidden menus. You want to go ahead and sample, you could go ahead and just click sample and start getting your settings for sampling. You want to go ahead and go into multi-pitch or multi-level, which is kind of like the 16 level you'll get on your MPC. Very straightforward. Down right here, you have your sequences, but in the SP-1200, they'll call them segments. But right here, you put your swing. The swing on the SP-1200 is very different from what we hear on the MPCs. Your copy, you can copy a segment, paste it, or a sequence and paste it to another sequence the way I do on my MPC. That's another thing I wanted to mention. On my MPC, the things that my go-tos is I'll start with 2 bars. I like how that sounds. I copy those 2 bars and I duplicate them. You can do all that right here the way I would. So it just felt very easy for me jumping back and forth with these 2 samplers. Down here, you have your mixer. You could do some mixing or your pitch or tuning using some of these faders right here. Let's go ahead and get started, and let's start with the drum break and sample that into the SP-1200. Now, right here on the MPC, I have this drum break that I want to sample. Now, the way I'm going to sample this, I'm going to pitch this up +5 on the MPC, so it sounds like this. The reason why you'll see a lot of people pitching up the sample or speeding it up going into the SP-1200 is because of the sample time limitation. So I can get a lot more by speeding it up, and then within the 1200, I'll pitch it down to get it back to the same pitch, which gives me more sample time. Now, I'll go to sample, and as soon as I engage that, I'll go ahead and listen to this, and I'll see my meters right here. So I can actually crank this up a little bit more with this gain knob. That sounds good right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and assign this pad A1, hit enter, and it's just gonna ask me what output do I wanna put this on. I'm gonna put this on outputs 2. So meaning whatever I have plugged into cable output number 2 is what's going into my interface channel number 2. Hit enter, and then on 4, Right here, I'll select my threshold. So anything that exceeds this threshold right here, it will automatically start recording for me. Hit enter. That's one thing. Right here, you really want to nail where you're going to start and where you're going to stop, because the time that you get, the limitation is a total of 20 seconds. So anything passing 20 seconds, you can't sample no more. So that's why it's like, man, I got to make sure I get it right on the downbeat or on the start time, because I don't want to waste any sample time. Cool. So we got that sampled into pad 1. Now I'm going to tune it down to get it to its original pitch, the way it sounded originally on the MPC. All right, so that break right there is at 76 beats per minute. I'm going to go to my sequence and I'm going to set this tempo to 76 beats per minute, hit enter, and I'm going to go ahead and record that on this 2-bar grid. All right, so let's go ahead and listen to this record right here. Boom. Boom. Okay, that's it. You see, notice that that's only like 2.5 seconds that I'm thinking in small sections. Just 2.5 seconds. It's so hard because this is where it's starting. So to capture the start of where the bass lands, it's kind of tricky, but we're gonna do our best to get it. Oh, this is gonna be good. Okay, so let's go back in here. I'm gonna start moving a little faster now that I explained a few things, but let's go ahead and start moving a bit quicker, because that's where it gets fun. You kind of get in you lock yourself in a groove that you're going back and forth, and it's so fun. So let's go ahead and listen to this. Yeah. All right, cool. We got that. I want to start. I want it to start where the key hits. So I'm going to go to setup. This is where we start truncating that sample or chopping it up. Select that. And right here, we have these 4 faders right here. These 2 faders are going to be the start point of the sample. These 2 are going to be the end point of the sample. This one will make adjust the changes. And this one right here is just finer increments right here where you're adjusting your start point. Before I start chopping this up, I'm going to go to tune and I'm going to pitch this back down to its original pitch. Right there. Let's go ahead and start making these chops. All right, we got that. Now we commit to that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th beat does not completely finish. So this is where it starts getting tricky and fun. So since that is not a complete bar that we're able to use, so let's go ahead and hit play on the drums and listen to how it does not complete the bar. It's a little off. So we got to get 1, 2. I want to get the 3rd beat of that loop and put that on another pad. So let's go back into let's arm this, go to channel 4 for its output. Another thing to keep in mind, you're gonna see is repetition with this machine. You gotta repeat what channel, assign it its output, a lot of repetition, but you get used to it. 1, 2, 3. There it is. All right, so that sounds a lot better as we're completing that bar. I want to start getting some of the downbeats where his voice is not present. So if I can, I mean, there's no stem separation right here. So I want to use certain pieces. Now I'm thinking of beats. I'm not thinking of bars here, how we would do on an MPC. I'm thinking of that bar sounds cool. On the SP-1200, I'm thinking of just small beats within bars, and I want to try to capture those beats, put them right here, and just have micro chops that I could start creating my own sequence. So let's listen to this and see if we can get something on this pad 3. There it is. There it is. let's get that. That gives me at least 2 beats. 1, 2. I gotta get the second beat from a different section where his voice is not so present. So let's go to this pad right here, and let's look for it out here. 1, 2, 3, right there. That was the second beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. I think we got it right here. Okay, see, now we're starting to build a sequence. I mean, this is better than stem separation. You're looking for the individual gaps or the spaces in between where he's speaking. I mean, there's no artifacting because we're separating those stems. Well, we're just taking away his vocal gently without having to use digital processing where it's going to give us that nasty artifacting. So let's keep looking for different beats. Oh, okay, right there. That actually sounds pretty cool. And just keep digging, keep listening to different sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. That sounds awesome. Let's keep looking. Now, I don't know how much time I have left right here with my sampling limit, but let's go ahead and check what we have left of sample time after what we've just done. All right, so we have 3 seconds left. As you see, I'm micro chopping right now, and we only have one more chop to sample before it tells us, hey, we've ran out of space or there's no more memory. So that's why it's so important to really think before you commit to whatever you want to sample. Now I'm doing micro chops. You're going to see me doing more beats on the SP-1200, taking a different approach. There's so many different ways you can approach this machine that it's so fun. I'm still learning it. I'm still going and figuring out some tricks to expand that sample time using some of the menus and all that. But I've been chopping like this, micro chopping, and it makes me, or it forces me to come up. Look, I'm getting a beat from the intro, and I'm getting another beat from the middle of the song. I'm getting another beat from the outro of the song, and I'm blending all those together and is recreating something that's different from just hearing the intro of a beat and saying, all right, I'm going to loop that one bar and just let it go. No, right here, you are forced to listen to micro chops or micro beats. Let's listen to a different piece from here.
Ya no tengo de tu aliento, mi corazón ya deshecho, yo frío en mi almohada. Ya no tengo de tu aliento.
so I really wanted to focus on the micro chopping with melodic samples. On a next video, I really want to just emphasize on percussive drums, one-shots, the shakers. I actually have a record that I was going over, and it's just a bunch of drums, percussive drums that I was sampling into here and just making loops. Oh man, it sounds crazy. If it were just for drums or percussive instruments alone, this is worth it. But on our next one, we're gonna go through on some records and focus with drums. Now, as you saw, we maxed out the sample recording time, but I actually have one more thing that I wanted to do before we shoot out this video. I got this really cool gift from Fresh Smart. I've not opened it yet. I'm actually going to unbox it right here and want to do it with you guys. And also, thank you for hanging out with me. These SP-1200 videos are going to be a bit longer because it just takes more time. And for you, if you're on a rush and you're just on a time crunch, then yes, maybe the MPC or the newer MPCs make more sense. But listen, for me, I got my wife, I got my daughter, and there's times where I just want to spend time alone. And there's times where I might be a bit frustrated and or just turning on the SP-1200 and making music on this just, I don't know, man. I forget about time. I just go far, and I'm completely unplugged from reality at the moment. And yes, I know it sounds a bit deep, and it's just the way it is. For me, I just zone out, and I love it. I love the feeling of letting go of reality for whatever time that I'm using this or whatever I'm doing mentally. Yo, this is super cool. All right, so this is so cool. It actually even comes with a small, what is this? Oh, it's an MPC. That is so dope. Oh, that is cool. This is a small little MPC 60 with a crate, vinyl crate right at the bottom. How cool is that? Oh man, very, very detailed. That is so dope. Oh man. Okay, so we can have this right here. I'm actually gonna put it right next to my MPC or my sampler next time I'm making some music. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And also, if you guys want to check out some of these right here, I'll leave a link down in the description to Fresh Smart. Go ahead and check it out. This is so delicate. It is made with so much detail. That is so cool.